you hit play?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Let's get this painted. So the fundamental idea behind this video is pretty much I've been wanting to do this for a while. I kind of just wanted to do a video that talks a little bit about cast painting. But what I've discovered over time is that there are different ways to kind of finish a painting, and finishing a painting doesn't have to look like this all-encompassing thing. It can be a little bit more looser and kind of straight to the point, and then you can kind of decide over time what is necessary for finishing a painting. So for me, I'm going to just kind of cover this piece and for the most part find form in a very, very, very simple kind of way. So here I'm just kind of covering it. I just want to cover this background with some very light washy light color. I'm just gonna kind of gradually get a little darker as I go down. That's somewhat happening, and what I'm looking at, but not really. I just kind of want to have somewhat of a composition laid out, you know. With this, I'm less interested in that. I just want it to be most of the vibrant color toward the top, less vibrant and muted toward the bottom. That's pretty much it. I'm okay if some aspects of the green overlap onto the cast. Again, it's something I can cover, I can worry about later. Right now I just want to kind of cover the piece, see fundamentally how these color relationships and value relationships are going to function. So next, I again just want to cover. So I'm just going to kind of jump right in on the cast, and I'm going to loosely lay in some color here. So I can see essentially that the whole idea behind this video is really showing that the variations of how one can achieve form. And it doesn't have to be necessarily thick paint or that careful, to be honest. As long as fundamentally you separate lights and darks and the drawing kind of works, whatever you're painting will kind of look like form. So really, I'm just painting in light where there's light. And I'm not overthinking that at all. I just want in this piece these lights that are facing the light source most directly to appear not just lighter in value than everything else in the painting, but also I want them to feel the most chromatic. And that's really fundamentally how light works. And even though some of these forms are turned away from me a little more, meaning, or turned away from the light source a little more, rather, I'm still kind of making them the same value for now, because I just want to fundamentally separate where there's light. And I want to clearly see my light most facing planes loosely. And like I said, when that's done, what I've noticed over just the years of painting, that when that's done effectively, the painting has form. And it can function as a finished painting if you deem it worthy. You know, if you decide that for whatever content you're painting or whatever it is, that it satisfies either the concept or you aesthetically, and it still will be, in terms of like creating a painting that's very form accurate. It'll still be pretty, I guess what I'm saying, yeah, it'll still be accurate. It's hard to paint and talk. At least paint and make sense when you're talking, but you're gonna figure it out. So here, I'm just gonna, I know all this stuff is in the light, and I'm putting the lights down dark enough, thin enough, so that I can still see my transfer lines. So then I can kind of go in later and do little light turns and stuff like that. But again, what I really am pointing out here is how this painting will pretty much be painted inside of an hour or inside of a couple hours. And I can pretty much get it to function the way it should as a painting without really spending months on it or anything like that, by just separating lights and darks. In drawing is a it is massively like I took my time and drew this, so I knew what was happening, and you know that's something that I think be a nice video in the future. Just doing a drawing video how I kind of got to this point, which I am game to do. But so again, all these are in the light. Oops, I went over a dark there. That's okay. I'm just gonna put them in lightly. All right, that's the area where I kind of went over with the green. Not worried about it. Man, I'm excited. I been wanting to do this for a while. So I'm painting this in a white or a low chromatic like yellow color. These are the light most facing planes. This is where chroma is going to be received the highest. I mean, color saturation is going to be the highest because this is what reveals the form to us. Well, light is what reveals the form to us, and it also functions fundamentally that way, where things in the light are going to be chromatic and brighter. And that happens with cast and things like that, or anything. And for me, I like to fundamentally ask myself what color something is. You know, is it green? Is it red? Is it yellow? And that kind of gets me deciding on a hue family, and all color has a family of color. Reds sit with reds, browns sit with browns, oranges sit with oranges, and if I can make that make sense in my head pretty clearly, then it makes color much easier. So I kind of laid in the light most facing planes, and there might be some more, but now I'm going to kind of lay in some. I'm going to separate the lights from the darks, and so here I'm going to try to find a dark that is in the same color family as those lights, but the same color family as the light colors, but it has to be kind of thin. I want to still be able to see through, and I don't want them too dark because it still is a light cast. So I want the colors to be. So I want it thin because I'm going to later on work through nuances. Maybe not in this video. That'll probably be another video, but so that feels a little chromatic to me. So I'm going to take it down. And it feels a little, maybe a tad dark. I don't know. Let me see. Maybe not. Yeah, so I'm gonna now, remember I'm just gonna put this in thinly. I even think it has less chroma than that. I think it's really gray. A grayed out, very grayed out yellow. So that might be a little, yeah, that might be closer there. So I'm just kind of scrubbing it in. I don't want to lose the drawing. So you might see me being a little bit methodical in some places. Some of the drawing might be a little off, but it's all right. I'm gonna correct that later. Yeah, so there's a light here. Again, on my palette right now, lights are completely separated from darks. So this is a plane that is gonna be a little darker than what's up there. So I'm just gonna make it a little darker for now. And for now, I'm gonna kind of just go back and forth with lights and darks. And some areas I'm losing a little bit of drawing, but I think as long as I'm keeping the paint kind of thin, I'm just gonna double check, make sure it's kind of thin. Yeah. I can always go back and find shapes. So this is a nice area because what's happening in this shadow is that it's not just a little lighter. I'm gonna kind of place it. It also has a little bit more yellowy chroma in it. So I'm gonna punch that chroma up a little bit. And then try to find that drawing. Or try not to lose a drawing rather. Some areas I kind of did that, but that's okay with me. I think I've watched some videos where a lot of artists are, well, not a lot, but some artists are kind of not, they don't care to, they don't want to lose that drawing because they spent so much time. I understand that, trying to find it, but I think I naturally tend to just do that, lose the drawing, and then we kind of recover it. Again, I don't want to blend right now. I'm just trying to cover my darks and lights, just separating them. And I got it as a little, some of the lighting is a little, so I'm lighting this with 2 light sources. I won't like recommend that usually, but because that can be confusing. But it's possible as long as you kind of let one of the light sources win or dominate, kind of know what shadows and things like. They're like some penumbras, some like double light situations happening that I'm just gonna ignore and kind of just work with one light kind of dominating. But one light didn't light the cast enough for me, and also which kind of felt a little flat, you know, because like the shadows were just too dark. So I couldn't really see the form, and I wasn't as motivated to paint it. And motivation in painting, inspiration is a big deal. So I decided to light it with 2 lights. And then if it looked fine there, it probably looked fine in my painting. I'm just good to not overthink shit. Yeah, so now I'm doing that. This shadow feels a little dark to me. That's okay. And a little thick. So I'm just gonna lighten it just a tad. Remember, it's a white cast that we're painting here. Shadows are not gonna be dark. The dark relative to what's happening, but that's really because there's no reference to anything in the piece that's dark. But if I were to put black cloth up there, you'll see how light these shadows really are. So again, there are some subforms on here that I can kind of choose to put in or not. Again, okay, you probably can see I'm turning some of these forms a little bit. And this is what a drawing helps a little bit. I think I lost some drawing over here, some of these areas, but that's okay. So there's gonna be some recovering. Or it could have been that the drawing just wasn't accurate, because I did kind of rush it because I really wanted to do this video. I think the more I paint, the more I like decide that I'm okay not being completely accurate. And it might be because I'm more of a narrative thematic painter. So I'm just not, a lot of things in that kind of painting you're having to be creative and kind of make up. So you know, it's more about fundamentally understanding the idea or the basic principle of how a form works or is supposed to function. And then working off that. And then as long as that's, you understand the principles of something, I think you can make things your own in a way that is pretty naturalistic. And then not only that, you can create. You can become more of a creator when it comes to more of a naturalistic, realistic way of painting, instead of this kind of slave to accuracy. That's a discussion for another day. Actually, you know, I wouldn't really want to get into that in this video, but and I'm still just trying to separate, and then I'm finding some halftones here just a little bit because I don't want to go too far off and like come back and be like, hey, where's that drawing? I have no idea where it went. So I'm just kind of going in and finding some of these shapes. Of course, these halftones have to be light. You know, they can't be dark. They can't compete with anything down here. I'm seeing that even some of these that I just laid down seem a little dark to me. So I'm just gonna kind of lighten them up and make sure that they stay on the light side. Everything in the light is lighter, including the shadows. So even over here, I'm just gonna put a little bit of light in there. And then here, I'm going to just kind of soften this termination edge. This is the point in which the light can't see the form anymore, so it turns away from the light source. Man, this is a lot of fun. Starting to like talking and painting. Okay, so let's see here. I just put light on my brush, but I forgot what I was doing. Oh, right up here. Okay, I think I wanted a little bit more light here. I want to make sure that that stays up in the light source. And then here, I'm just gonna put a little half tone. Darken some of these forms. And overall, I'm just gonna kind of darken this form because it is down in value. And I made it light at first because I wanted to completely separate the lights and darks, but I'm feeling like these can be a little bit more accurate, and they're gonna be darker here just because of where the light source is. So my brush is pretty much bouncing back and forth between light and dark. Well, I have two brushes, but I'm bouncing back between light and dark. And this drawing here, there's something weird happening here, which I'm not gonna figure out now. But yeah, I think this comes down more. And I don't know what this is. I don't know why that should be, I don't know what that was. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, that looks better. And then there's a cast going all the way through here. Okay. And then shadow here on this side. This forms down. This forms down. Yeah, and these forms are actually down even more. Oh, I see that. Now I see it. It's like two forms. This is down more. So I'm just gonna put it down a little more. So when I say down, it's like kind of sculpting. I'm turning things either toward the light source or up or away from it. Toward the light source, things are gonna get lighter, right? Away from it, things are gonna get darker. And I'm doing that, oh, this is a good point. So like, I think there's like different schools of thought, form logic and kind of more visually what you're seeing. I use them both. I use form logic to solve problems, and I also look visually at things and ask myself, okay, what am I seeing? What's visually lighter or darker? I think they both have good uses, but form logic comes in much more handy when it comes to like doing a full narrative piece, because when you're putting people in, you have to make multi-figure compositions work or something like that. It's important to understand your light source to a point, so that you can, to the point where you can add things that aren't there. And